Not sure why my video isn't working, guys. I think my camera is acting up a little bit. So, charts and voice today. Um, let's go ahead and start. Good morning, guys. Obviously, post Fed day today. A little bit of weird action, guys, at the end of the day yesterday. And then we started off real green in futures, ES and QQQ, or ES specifically, so SPY was going for this 383 level, and we rejected overnight, and then gap down, right, all the way to our local low of 370 today, guys. And it's going to be important to watch and see if we can get through this 373 area. If we invalidate and break below that 370 50 level, guys, that's going to be a big move to the downside, in my opinion. We are already down 2.1% here in pre-market. And I really do want to focus on this pre-market low area, guys. So if you remember, I talked about it on the stream, but this pre-market low kind of confluence point has been big lately for the indices, and I really do want to pay attention to this level here at 369.45. Put premiums on SPY are incredibly expensive right now, guys. Or yesterday they were especially. It was a great day to be selling puts. But a really interesting look here, like I said. So we gapped down, held that prior low. You know, it's interesting when we get these big gap downs in pre-market, right, guys? It always sets up for kind of an interesting open, and one that I definitely like to sit and wait, right? That's the biggest thing for me, is letting that first, 15-minute, two 15-minute candles form before I really try to take any trades with size. But really, again, going to be paying attention to the 369.45 level and then the 373.40 level are going to be my two kind of confluence points. If we can reclaim this 373 area, right? So 373 to 373.6, that's going to be that zone of supply, right? And if we can get over that 373.6 area, really good chance to fill that move back up to the 380 level, right? So just for a point of reference, at 2:30 yesterday when FOMC started, we were right at the level we were at before Powell came on to talk, right? Now, just to note, Bitcoin and a lot of the kind of growth names do not look very healthy here in pre-market. But again, I really do want to be patient off open. A break below 369.38 would be that kind of bearish stance to the downside. A break over 373.64 would be that kind of trigger upside calls for me, right? Now, I want to kind of zoom out and just show you guys where we're at on a larger time frame, right? So yesterday we did fail to close over 380. QQQ actually reclaimed its local low at that 380 level into the close. However, the big spot, like I said, is, do we form this kind of double bottom here on the daily and make that move back up, right? It's the end of the week, so I'm going to mainly be focused on next week expiration contracts today. And it's going to be really important to see how this weekly candle, right? If we look at the SPY weekly, does this SPY weekly candle reclaim 380, right, into 385 at the end of this week? If it does, that sets up for a possible run to 400. If it does not, then we set up for a lot more downside next week. And that's, kind of my opinion. You guys know I've been using the larger time frames a lot more lately to kind of gauge these moves, because the scalping has been, it's been a difficult tape to gauge, in my opinion. Really, yesterday kind of felt very odd to me into the close, while there felt like there was kind of bidders in tape on a lot of names, especially Neo, Rivian, etc. There was some weakness and relatively, lackluster follow through. So today's going to be a very interesting day, and one that I'm really planning on kind of letting the trade come to me rather than seeking it, right? So going to be those important levels to watch on SPY, like I mentioned. Again, looking at the hourly chart, a close over 373.6, that, motivates us towards a move back into the 381 level. A move under 369.38, which is that demand area as of right now, and our pre-market low at 369.45 would set up for the short side move. So those are the SPY levels I am paying attention to. Yeah, I feel like there might be a 15-minute drop-off open too. We tend to get them on these gap down days. Now, a couple other names that I am watching today of interest to me is going to be Neo. I am watching Neo off of this support area here at this 1920 area. This was kind of the launch pad yesterday. So I'm watching to see if Neo can reclaim this 1930 level off of open. These names have been incredibly strong as of late, NEO especially has been very strong. The daily is not a fantastic look for continuation yet, but I do want to note, guys, we talk about relative volume all the time. Well, this is the biggest relative volume that NEO has seen in a long time, right? In terms of daily volume, we've traded 122 million shares yesterday and 104 million the day before. So we've traded over 230 million shares in the last 2 days. And the last time that we traded numbers like that was back in March, right? And that was when we saw that bigger relief rally into the 22, 24 area, right? We got all the way up to this 24.08 level, right? So I am going to be watching this. I think there's a somewhat similar setup coming, possibly if we can get over this 2074 level. I am slightly interested in calls off of open if it can reclaim this 1931 area. This is going to be a trade that is smaller in size for me if I take it. Again, I'm keeping things smaller off open. It's not the market we were in 8 months ago, guys. And as much as I hate that, that's where I found a lot of success was in that market off open where it was very, very consistent in terms of, okay, it reclaims this level, great, right? I'm watching to see the area that I wanted to hold in order for it to be valid would be the 1902 area. And if the tape can stay relatively firm, right, and we can get that move back over 1931, that's definitely an area of interest for me, right? So over that 1931 resistance area, definitely interests me on NEO. So watching that first 15-minute candle on NEO today, that's going to be likely my top watch just because of the volume it's been trading. And you guys know, like I said, I'm much more inclined to trade things with higher volume. So NEO is definitely a top watch for me off open. Until we break below those confluence points on QQQ SPY, I would probably consider this a decent long opportunity with it being down 5% on lower volume in pre-market. It traded really well on HK yesterday, so like I said, of interest to me on NEO. NVIDIA is another one. Interesting chart again on the hourly, guys. To me, it kind of feels like we're forming this like rounded area, right? Like instead of, there being heavy downside pressure, right, where you're seeing this toppy pattern on the charts, we're actually kind of seeing the bottom, or excuse me, the bottom. We're kind of seeing the opposite occur, right, where we have this kind of rounded bottom, right? And I'm not a huge believer or, user of like those, kind of patterns and formations as much, but I definitely do see the bull case here in the short term for at least a move into this 163.30 area. I do think it could see a move into the 165 level. However, if it rejects off of this 161 area at open, that would lead more downside pressure. This has been a traditionally weaker name, so one that I am more focused playing downside on. And like I said, guys, for the NVIDIA challenge, I'm really trying to wait for A+ setups, and this has been a little bit more range bound lately, right? It's not the same market it was trading NVIDIA, again, a little while ago. However, there's going to be a couple monster opportunities that set up here. One of them is going to be below this 155 level. When we finally break that intraday, we should have a really awesome short opportunity. But until we get that or we see a move over this 163.28 area, I'm going to probably hold off on NVIDIA challenge trades until we get a break out of this kind of choppier range, right? I want to be in, solid premiums that are moving well. And again, we talk about daily volume, right? Honestly, not horrible, but, like I said, it just feels like a little bit of a firmer tape as of the past couple days. A couple other names that I do want to pay attention to today. Kroger had earnings this morning, gap down 4% off open. Going to keep this chart open today at 9:30 and see if we get a decent move one way or the other. I think we could set up for a possible IV flush upside. But again, I really want to focus, since we have had such a big move down in pre-market on SPY, QQQ. Those are the two things that I really want to focus on, because without those two, right, those are going to dictate our overall direction. Other watch that I will be paying attention to is Meta. So META, very interesting that this had such bullish call flow out of the money weekly yesterday. That was extremely, extremely bullish call flow, which does lead me to think that there is possibly another move up here. I will not, marry that idea, but I always keep that in the back of my mind when you see, $5-6 million coming into weekly out of the money calls. It does become of interest. So that 166 level is big. If you can reclaim that 166, 165 zone, then we could see a move back up to 173. I mentioned it already, but that 173 area is where we see the gap to the upside. Under 163.92 likely sees that move back down to 160.76, and that's the big trigger area, right? So this is a major level on the weekly at 161. If we break below that 161 level on the weekly, right, you guys can kind of zoom out and you can see it gets pretty nasty under that area, right? We've seen moves to 123 back in 2019, back in 2020, COVID, right? We saw a move down to 135, right? So that would be COVID low area. It would be that 135 area, which is a pretty big move down. This thing's trading at a pretty insane multiple now. It trades at half the multiple on most of IBM, which is insane. With a value trap stock like IBM and something like Facebook that is still growing. But that's, a fundamental thing, which doesn't really matter for the short term. But point being, this could set up for a fantastic short opportunity under 160 and will definitely be one of my top watches. Other names I am going to be paying attention to today, SQ. This one looks pretty ugly, sets up for a move to 55, but not a peak area of interest to me just because of the volume that we have been seeing lately. Obviously, heavier sell volume came in last 3 days, but need to watch and see. This interests me under 55. This is a big area of interest for me, but in this zone, not as much. One other name that I do want to watch today. So Adobe gapped down 2% this morning. I do want to pay attention to CRM. Could set up for a possible fade today. And then the last name that is actually going to be a main point of focus for me would be Chipotle, so CMG. I don't know why I'm having a brain fart there. CMG, guys, very interesting, right? So area that I really want to pay attention to again was this retest of this 1266 area. This looks very interesting to me for an ad on the either the July or September puts today. If we continue to reject this 1285 level, right, which was that prior area of support in that 1280 area, right? We had highs yesterday in that 1270 range. If we reject that area, it becomes very interesting to me for possibly some July or September puts. May look for a swing entry today. I wish I was planning on taking it this morning. I was hoping we'd get one more little pop to the upside and then confirm the rejection, which we may still get. So I'm going to be patient on CMG. The spreads are awful, so I will be pretty much strictly bid filling this. But it's definitely on watch for me today for that swing entry. So keeping that on watch today as well. This looks like a very toppy chart, right? Pretty clear head and shoulders pattern, which is, obviously a pretty bearish signal, but pretty long wick so far on this weekly candle. And I would like to see that get shoved down a little bit more, right? So, all right, guys. Going to be paying attention again. SPY, QQQ, NEO off open. I'm going to go ahead and hop on the Discord live, and then we will do some YouTube live trading today before Power Hour on NVIDIA. That's the plan for today. I'll see you guys on the Discord live.